Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Welcome back to Home Dad Chat. Here it's just me again. Brock is with his mom. He is helping her get back to her house after a hospital stay. Those who may have been listening to the show or know Brock from the Dad Lounge and what have you, his mom unfortunately fell and broke her back, and her recovery has been amazing, very fast. He was kind enough to send me the video, and I'm sure others as well, of his mom standing up in the waiting room of the hospital in the lobby and ringing the bell that says, "I'm out, I'm leaving." She did have to leave in a wheelchair, of course. She is still having some issues. She's not 100%, but just seeing her standing, taking steps, this is amazing to me. When you say someone breaks their back, I just feel like that's a really final thing. And of course, I'm not a doctor. That's why. Seeing her stand up and walk was amazing. And Brock, I'm very happy for you. I really hope you get to spend some time with your mom today and with your dad. And if y'all know Brock, you know that his dad was probably just as ready for her to be home, especially because the hospital was a distance from their house originally. So they've got that all tied up, and he will be there today taking care of his family, what we all should do and what we probably all do. Our guest today is Jenn Haston, the boss of balance. Jenn was on the show about 9 months ago before her presentation at Home Dad Con in St. Louis. It was a very interesting and I think enlightening presentation. It was interactive too, which I think all of us kind of enjoy over just someone droning on like I am now. But the best thing about this right now is Jenn is going to be on in a moment, and you won't have to just listen to me. So we are going to talk with Brock about Father's Eve, about summer plans, and especially just how things went for his event. And I'm very excited to talk about how well things went for my event and to encourage everyone else just to plan on it. Think about it. Get an event for yourself. Get together with some dads every month if you can. That would be great. But if nothing else, try to make some plans for next year, because I'm already planning mine. And I've already sent out invitations to people that were there this year and going to spend some more just to see if I can get as many dads as I can. Because I have to say, there's nothing like a group of dads, like-minded, standing around the campfire and just enjoying each other's time. And I hope you all can find something like that. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Jenn in just a moment and see what she's been doing in the last year and what her plans are for this year.
Become a member of the National At-Home Dad Network, an organization focused on providing advocacy, community, education, and support. Connecting with households where dad is the primary caregiver of the children. We do this through our webinar and podcast series, mental health support groups, regular online social events, as well as our annual convention. The National At-Home Dad Network is a 100% volunteer organization. Without the generous support of its members and the community around it, we would not be able to continue the work that we do. Becoming a member gives you access to past convention speaker presentations, the ability to vote for board members annually, and ensures that the organization's fees and bills are in positive standing. Oh yeah, it should not go unmentioned that there is some cool swag headed your way if you decide to become a member. For only $35 a year, your membership provides you with the exclusive content only we can generate, and you'll be supporting an organization that benefits families all around the country and world. By advocating for them, offering them community, providing education and guidance, and supporting them to grow in their parenthood journey. And one last thing, if you contribute $500 or more, you will become a lifetime member. Not only will you receive everything already mentioned, but also a certificate recognizing your status and an exclusive National At-Home Dad Network challenge coin with our trademark logo, Dads Don't Babysit. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member today.
Welcome back. And we have, as I said, Jenn Haston with us today. Hi, Jenn. How are you?
I'm great, Danny. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Having a wonderful summer so far. Been very busy, but yeah, it's okay. How's your summer been so far?
I've been really leaning into rest, which is a bit of a challenge, which I didn't expect, right? Because with a title like The Boss of Balance, you think I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, it's time to rest. Let's jump into that. And I'm like, nope.
Nope.
I really struggled at first, but I'm getting back into my health routine, which is
Good.
going to the gym once a week. And I'm walking the pool right now because of my knee sensitivity. And so there's all these different exercises that you can do in the pool where you're walking the pool and you're stretching your legs and things like that. So my goal is to do it once a week and then build. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Which is really the way you do it. Start where you're at, not where you wish you were, kind of thing. So,
because a lot of people
um,
overdo it in that first part. They're like, I got to go every day.
I feel attacked. I don't think we should talk about that right now. Let's move on. We went from basically the first week after school, kids are out of school, and we kind of just vegged out. We're not doing anything. We don't really have any plans. Y'all need to sleep in. That's fine. Kept them on their bedtime schedule, though. I bumped it up a half hour for my younger kids just because they are more mature now. They're older and they're not needing as much sleep. And that so far, so good. They're still sleeping past, which that's fine. It's summer. We're not really set on anything. But we did start going to the pool. I signed them up for swim lessons. And I'm like, you guys know how to swim, but I want you to get more lessons on just what you do and how you want to do it. And the county here has some amazing summer school programs, one of them being swimming. And I said, cool. Well, they're not beginners. I'm not going to make them sit through this is how you paddle kick or whatever. So I went advanced beginner. That sounds great. Got them both signed up. People said, that's great. Can't wait to see you. And then the day before Sunday, which Monday we started, the day before they sent out the general email and it said, just, tell you what, bring a water bottle, that you're going to need to wear a cap and all that stuff. Cool, cool. And they said, and the requirements for advanced beginner is that you have completed our beginner course and you can do these 5 physical things. And 3 of them, my kids have never even done, like specific strokes and stuff, and then swim all the way across the pool at the high school, right? And back. And I'm like, cool. I know they can, but they're going to be dog paddling at best. And the biggest issue with it really is I would have normally just said, well, we'll go down there and see what happens. Was that I was telling the kids about it and said, I messed up, put you in an advanced class. I didn't know. They said beginner class can last for 3 or 4 seasons. Cool. Yeah. And I told my daughter, Lizzie, my youngest daughter, and she freaked out. Her anxiety pegged. She started breathing real fast. She got completely deregulated. And I'm like, okay. Unfortunately, having my own reactions previously, knew exactly what was happening. And I think that was really the only thing that saved us from having a just complete meltdown. Because I said, I think we'll just go to the pool, go to the Y and just swim together. Because I think we have more fun doing that. And I don't think that's really, we don't need that class right now. And you could just see her meter just shoo back down to closer to 0. And I was thinking about it in broader terms of how you deal with your kids and how you learn from your kids and how psychology teaches you so much about just the things to say at the right time. And is very thankful for all of the work that really so many people have done into making me a better parent. But in big cases, times where we've talked, you and I have talked, where it gives me a moment to sit back and reflect on, oh, this is another parent that does this, that struggles with this, or another parent that says this and it succeeds in this. And it made me think of you. And I said, well, we'll talk about, see what she's doing this week and what's going on. So busy summer for us. Got a lot of things going on, but I don't want to say I want to be over busy, but I really feel like my kids are better off if we're busier, where they have things that we need to get to, we have to get to. So yeah, that's where we're at. And we just went through Father's Day. How did Father's Day go as far as at your house?
Well, we did a
It
flip where we did
didn't.
Mother's Day, Father's Day, but
That's right.
we still celebrated Father's Day. We just did it in May. And I think it's a great dovetail into what you're talking about, which is it's like, oh, we had this plan. It was so great. We're going to do this. Well, actually, no. Liz's anxiety shot up and it's like, okay, so now what do we do? And
Pivot.
that pivot, it is strong. And the thing is that if you're out of spoons and you're not ready for that pivot, it can be really disastrous because then you're melting down and then they're melting down. And just thinking about some plans that we've had with our daughter recently, it's like she goes to a camp. Thank goodness for camps. We love camps. And I'm starting to realize that it may not be the best environment for her. Like she's completely safe, but I think it's more of I want her to be enriched. I want there to be more learning, which I know everybody says that's during the school year. But in this particular case, she loves math, she loves science. I really want to foster that and I want to encourage it. And so I started looking at camps because, you can't ever just do it during the school year. It's like during the summer, you already got to think about next summer.
Right.
And it's our society that's so hustle and grind and like, okay, let's get it all done. And like, we got to square that away. And I think about the fact that we planned for this summer right after DadCon last year. And it was just like, really? And so it seems like it's getting faster and it's like, it has to. And so my crusade is to get people to slow down. That's where the just 5 minutes comes from that I talked about at the conference. And I think it's so hard, even for me, like I was talking about, like, it's the summer. It's like, let's slow down, let's relax. It's like, no, I still got plenty of stuff to do. And blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, heal thyself, psychology student, like you need to slow down too. And I haven't told this story publicly, but I will say that in July of last year, I thought I was having a heart attack and the chest pains, and it was just really dramatic. And it was funny. I had just gotten off a phone and telling a person I'm in school, but I'm managing it, like I'm balanced, I'm good. And that night I had what appeared to be a heart attack. So rushed to the hospital, very dramatic, very exciting. No lights, no sirens. So that was a sign. They put nitroglycerin under my tongue. I started to feel better by the time we got to the hospital. I said, why are we here? Because I'm a planner and it was not planned that night to go to the hospital. And I got to thank my partner because he said, you having chest pains, we're calling 911. Like there's no messing around with that. Because I think some women, we don't take that seriously because they're like, well, I'm fine. I'll just, go to sleep. And there's so many stories of people laying down, going to sleep and never waking up the next day. So we go to the hospital. Of course, we're there for 6 hours. I've never understood why it takes so long to be in the emergency room. It's an emergency. Can we please move things along, people? Anyway, so they did all of these tests. They put EKG on me and they said, your heart's fine, but follow up with the cardiologist just to be on the safe side. I said, okay. So I have an appointment with the cardiologist 2 days later because I am pleasantly persistent and called until they fit me in. Because some people were like, oh, we can't see you till October. This was July. I was like, nope, this is my heart. We're not messing around with this. So the cardiologist, too long didn't read. I do all of this stuff. And meanwhile, talking to my therapist, because yes, I have a therapist. And my therapist said, have you considered that this might have been an anxiety attack? I'm like, no, I'm fine. There's no issues with my anxiety. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
So come to find out, I do an endoscopy. I do a colonoscopy. So pleasant. And then I do all of these different tests for over like a 3-month period. And nothing is found. Like there's no blockage, which is great news, right?
Great news, yes.
But also it's terrible news because it's not an answer.
Right.
And I am completely frustrated by the lack of answers, the lack of clarity, nothing to indicate what's going on.
Right.
So it was my therapist who said, talk to your doctor and see what she thinks. And one of the good things about my doctor is that we have a great relationship and we've spent some time building rapport, and she knows that I know my body really well. And I'm telling her, hey, this is off. This is not great. And like, as she's wheeling me out to the paramedics, because, oh, that's right. Later that week, she sent me back out because I was still having chest pain. And like, that's the thing. It continued. Like I had no idea what was going on, but it was intermittent and it was really hard to catch. And it was just like, what's going on? So she said, this patient really knows her body. So I'm sending her back to the hospital. And so they put me in, they did all this test on my cardio, my heart, everything. And I started saying, okay, well, there's got to be something else, right? So I go to the doctor. She says, well, I could probably start you on some Lexapro and see how that goes, right? 10 milligrams of Lexapro, 45 days later, no more attacks. And there's just a real lack of buzz in my head that I didn't even know was there.
Right.
So it has been life-changing for me. And I didn't even know I had anxiety, right? I'm watching Inside Out 2. No spoilers. There's a character in there called Anxiety. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. Nobody has problems.
What an odd thing for a cartoon character to do. I'm glad this isn't in any way my real life.
Oh my gosh. So it was just it has been a real journey. Like, I'm going to be real frank. It was scary as all get out. And of course, one of the fears once you have an anxiety attack is that you'll have one again. So it's a fun
Which
little
builds your
byproduct.
anxiety
Sure.
and pushes you closer to an anxiety attack. Yeah,
Exactly.
I absolutely
So
get it.
yeah. So it's been a real roller coaster, but I'm happy to say I'm on the medication, and therapy is really working for me. And, there's been a lot of stuff to
Awesome.
deal with. So, it's good. It's
That's
good.
great. And it's not just good, it's great. It really is. Moving through that point, because the same kind of thing happened to me back in 2019 and through 2020. And I had not been diagnosed with PTSD yet, had no idea what anxiety was, and was talking to my therapist at the time, who was my favorite ever. And I wish she lived here in Wisconsin now because she's just the best. But she was talking about what was going on, and she got me the PTSD handbook, which is basically an addition to a course. And it was great. But one of the things it talked about was anxiety and how you hyperventilate, how you feel like you're going to have a heart attack, how you feel like these things are going on. And I, at that time, and I've got a Withings now because they were on super sale, but at the time I had a Fitbit, so heart rate monitor, and I would stop and I would feel it hitting, and I was choking. I couldn't breathe. My heart was just hammering, and I'm like, well, this is it. I'm gone. I'm dying, right? But I'd pull up my heart rate monitor, click it, and go, ooh, 91. Okay, I think I'm all right. I think I'm okay. So let me figure out what else is going on.
Right.
And learning the difference again, because people that haven't had anxiety or don't recognize that they had anxiety, like most of us have, before you get that understanding, sit in it and just think, well, it's nothing. It's not, you just get over it. Why, what are you,
Right.
or in a very wannabe manly way, that what are you afraid of? Well,
Mhm.
you got to be brave. You got to walk into that. You got to step into that. You got to fix that. Okay, there is an amount of correct rightness in that. Okay, sometimes you face your fears. Absolutely. When you're ready, you do that. Have I faced all my fears? I think so. I have not defeated them. I'm still scared to absolute death of snakes. And it's nothing. And I try to study them and I try to learn about them, what their places in the environment. This is great. And I see a snake sitting on the side of the walkway we were taking by the river. And there's not supposed to be snakes here, but I guess there's a few. And I find every one of them. And there's a mama snake and like 4 or 5 little baby snakes all wrapped together. And I'm walking down, talking to my brother and my wife. We're walking along the lake river and everything's beautiful. I look down and go, and I mean, jumped just like that, made the noise, everything. And that's fear. And I get that. I don't face that fear. I looked and I'm moving on. I don't have the spoons in this case to take care of it. But anxiety is that same feeling with nothing there.
Right.
Nothing. There's nothing. Why am I afraid? I don't know. I'm overwhelmed with it. And understanding that difference between that, for my gamers out there, when you hear the boss music start, or if you're watching a movie and the big bad guy comes up and you've got that swelling music and something's going to happen, and living in that state constantly and nothing's there. It just, oh, I need to go get groceries. Dun, dun, dun. And that's it for me. And it's
Or half
amazing,
the people,
right?
which is not true for either of us, I don't think, but maybe
No,
I'm wrong. Maybe you're a closet
sometimes
introvert. So I don't think
no, oh no,
so.
don't even say that. No, I have possibly introverted tendencies at times because I like a meditation and I like a quiet book, but really, no. Obviously, I recharge with this right here,
Sure.
really talking. I want to say a little listening to, but probably more talking. And reaching that point as an extrovert was just shocking to me because I was like, no, I can't go out to the store. I don't know why. And then I would, of course, make myself go because we needed groceries more than anything else. I wasn't trying to be, strong. It was like, well, we're going to starve. So we got to go. And I would go and I would talk to people and it would just choke. I would stop and I wasn't able to do what I'm doing right now, to just say anything, let any verbal vomit come out of my head, whatever's, nothing. Right. And that too was anxiety, and learning that again, like you said, when you get in and like, well, we know it's not these things. Cool. That my heart is not doing these things. What is it doing? Because I am choking here. And that diagnosis and how very valuable it is. And the number of times that, and you've probably seen this too, where you talk to someone and you get them to understand what anxiety is, and that little light bulb goes on, and their face lights up, and they're like, oh, that's what's happening to me.
Yeah.
And it may not be as obvious and as huge as the possible panic attacks that you and I were having, but still those moments, those little murmurations of, well, I'm supposed to be going this way because everybody else is going this way. No, I'm going to go this way instead because my anxiety won't let me go with everybody else. And I love that. Just the understanding. I don't love anxiety.
No,
Anxiety and I are
it
not
has its
friends.
place. It has its place. I was going to say something that my therapist had me do, which I think is an excellent exercise. And I want to be clear here. I have my degree in psychology. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. So use as you wish, but check with
Mhm.
your medical professional. I am not a medical
This
professional.
is what worked for you.
Exactly.
That
I'm a big one for best practices. And one of the tips that she gave me, she said, before you start taking a medication, because you just got it, make a list of all the things that you're super bothered about. And then in 30 days, look at that list and see how much of it's still bothering you. And
nice.
I looked at that in preparation of our talk today, and I think there's maybe 2 things on that list that I'm still bothered by, but there was like 19.
Oh, wow. Well,
But I didn't think I had anxiety.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that too is the thing I hear a lot too. I don't have anxiety, or I just was surprised that I had anxiety. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty prevalent.
I think
It's
in our
out there.
current society, I think that's been true for a long time, not just in our current
Yeah.
administration. That's all I'll say about that.
Yep.
Is it's
Please.
a stressful time, right?
Hmm?
So if you don't have anxiety, what are you doing? Because please share your magic.
Right. Right. So I wanted to go back to one thing, and I wanted to ask you if you've read the book Rest as Resistance.
It's on my bedside table, so
Yay.
I'm gonna read it.
So we covered it in a local book club that I'm a part of here. We meet maybe every 2 months. It's a very irregular because we're also busy, but Rest as Resistance by Tricia Hershey. And it really just sits in what you were talking about, as we are taught not to take time. We are taught that slowing down is a negative thing. We're taught that stopping makes you lazy, and the ongoing just, you have to do this thing, you have to do this thing, you have to do this thing. And that pushback is to not fight, but instead that pushback is just to sit and quietly rest and give yourself that time you need. Taking a nap should not be a quote unquote sin. There shouldn't be a moment in your day when you go, I need to slow down a little bit and just take a break. And you feel bad about it, or you feel guilty about it, or you have that moment of, well, I got things to do, I don't have time. But you and I know, and we've definitely told other people, self-care is best care. And if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not resting, you're just not going to be able to make it no matter what it is that you do, with your day. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you're at least got it in your nightstand. I definitely skimmed it because I read it the morning of book club. And
Sure.
that's what I do.
Symptoms of
Literally.
the situation, right? Like you didn't take the time to rest to
I,
read the book. I'm gonna throw shade that way, sir.
yeah.
Um,
Well, exactly. Exactly. And I can say, now I can get away with this because, I have 4 kids and I'm a full-time dad, and I just, I got a lot going on. I try to, but I just have so many things. Like I just said earlier, got summer camp and we got swimming and we got choir practice. We got all these things. Cool. That means you need rest even more,
yeah,
and your
yeah.
kids need rest even more. So I get you. I hear you. I know my own medicine, but I don't like to take it.
Sure, I get that. I was going to say it's been said over and over again, and much like you said before, it sounds like it's easy, right? But it's not. It's hard because
Mhm.
we have so many things pushing and pulling on us and grabbing our attention. And I mean, this thing right here, my God, demands all of your attention.
Jen held up her phone just for those who are just listening and aren't on video.
There's so many studies that talk about how even having the phone in the room is something that distracts you. It pulls your focus just by
Yes.
having it in the room. And one of the things I was going to say is that, they say it on the airplane all the time. And of course, if you've been on a plane more than once, you've heard this more than once, and you're like, I know this speech, I don't need to hear it again. But you have to put the oxygen mask on your face before you put it on anyone else's, because if you
Right.
pass out, you're not going to be any good for anybody else. So fill your own cup, find that rest, because if you don't, there will be consequences. Like if you don't find rest, rest will find you.
Right. Right. Sometimes in the hospital.
Yeah.
As we both have kind of learned. So I love the phone analogy, Jen, and I will say it really fits in well with where I'm at now. Currently, all of my kids have a phone or a mobile device of some. We're
Yeah.
very screen heavy. We always have been. We
Yeah.
really do a lot of scheduling and a lot of learning and a lot of sharing online. Cool. We also just love to be stupidly online and doom scroll. We love just brain candy type of videos and such like that. So it's really a big part of it. And I was talking with my 15-year-old because he's always got his headphones on because he's very shy and he just doesn't work well talking with other people until he's ready to. And when he's fully recharged, he comes out and he's hilarious. He's gregarious. He's out there just being the person you want everybody. Well, I want everybody to be because I'm an extrovert. And it's amazing that difference. And I asked him, I said, what do you think if you and we were going to go and work in the workshop and we were going to basically we're putting a hoist to lift the canoe up off to the ceiling. And I want you to work with me on that. I kind of said, well, you took wood shop this year and I just want to see, what you think about this project. And he caught on pretty quick. He goes, it's okay, Dad. I'll just come work with you. I don't know that much. I'm like, you don't know as much as me, but I've got decades on you, man. But when we went out, I said, well, do you think we could leave your phone here? And he said, yeah, I can do that. Can you? And I went, hey, no, I can't. I said, I don't just play on my phone though. I have a
Yeah.
calendar. And with my ADHD, I have to check my calendar regularly. I will
Yeah.
forget. I have an alarm. Brock and I have done this podcast over 200 times, and I still have an alarm every week to remind me that I got to go get on the podcast. And it's
Yeah.
just a need for me, right? But the analogy of the phone works really well because it's that moment where I have to look at this, I have to look at this, and it being in the room, even right now, mine's over here, it's muted, it's, screen's off, it shouldn't be bothering me, but I still look at it because I'm anxious that I'm going to miss something, that somebody's going to need me, that one of my kids, I don't know, slipped upstairs and needs me to come help them, or one of the other kids, or whatever. Or silly things like, hey, Dad, I know it's 9 o'clock in the morning, but could I have a bag of popcorn? Whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
that moment of, okay, I got to look, I got to look, I got to look, I got to look. And it's such a constant thing and how it leans into my anxiety so hard.
Mhm.
It does give me those moments of I need to look at this, I need to look at this, I need to look at this. And being able to step back from it and put it down is difficult. I feel like I'm being irresponsible.
Mhm.
I feel like, well, I've got so many people that I reach out to and I want to help. And honestly, people that I've committed to helping. The podcast is an example. This is a fully voluntary thing, right? So I'm here to, well, originally this was to help the network have a podcast.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, I can't do that. I've committed myself to helping everybody. And looking at it and going, that's not true. I mean, it is true, but that's not true. Come on, put that down. And the times that we did it when we were in the workshop, I did let Marnie know that, hey, I'm just going to be, D&D, do not disturb for a little bit. And we'll be in the workshop. But if you need me, you can send one of the kids out or, what have you. But I just want to get some, time with James and let's just, just set it aside. And it was great. We had a wonderful time. I didn't miss anything that couldn't have waited. Everything was fine for those like 2-3 hours when I was technically offline. It did bother me not having it in my pocket
Mhm.
because it's such a habit for me to look like I check, I know it's in my pockets, but I check them and I have a lot of pockets because cargo pants are the way. And I check, there's my phone, there's my wallet, there's my keys, there's my pocket knife, there's my flashlight, there's my, my loops, earplugs and all these things. And they're all right there. And it's a comfort thing for me to feel them. And that hit me several times. And my son noticed me. You look at your phone. I'm like, I am. Yeah, it's a habit. I feel that weight and it's not there. And I feel like I lost it. And what was cool is that he got that too. I'm like, but it's anxiety, dude. I can't do anything about that. I'm learning to deal with it and to make it to balance myself. So I
Yeah.
love the phone analogy. It fits very well with what I think anxiety does and our need to rest. Because if it's there, if it's just in the room, like you said, we're probably not resting, you
Yeah.
know?
The other thing to think through there is in our family, even though I'm the one who suggested it, we have a low no device day on Sunday,
Mhm.
right? So we rest and we read books and ideally But what happens is that it's usually more of a half day. And the reason that started is because I was really hesitant to have technology in our house, right? Because with Vivian being here and wanting to be around her and engaged with her, I didn't want to do that. But I was playing with her one day and I had to go write down something for the shopping list. And I went, if we had an Alexa, then I would be able to stay in the moment with my kid. And so I think it's also possible to use these tools for good. And I think so
Absolutely.
often it's a question of balance, right? That's my whole shtick, is like the boss of balance. Some days an aspiration, some days it's a description. And that Sunday is really hard on me too, because I love my device just as much as everybody else does. And it's a real growing problem, like a phone addiction. Like there's all kinds of articles about it. There's so much science behind it. But it really comes down to like, how are you utilizing your technology? Is it to spend more time with your family or to spend less? Because I mean, I can very easily get stuck in a triple match game because it's fun. And it's my daughter likes it too. So we will play it sometimes, but I'll
Right.
always say, let's just play it for a little while. And it has one of those functions that when you run out of lives for your gamers, you're done. Like you can't play again for another hour. And I'm like, that's a good thing. I think that's a really good governor. And they've got all these different things on your phone. Like I have a monitor that says, you have been on this for a while now. So do you want to ignore me, which is really easy to press? Or do I want to take 15 more minutes? And of course I want to take 15 more minutes because I'm a human being and I'm addicted. But it's like literally, if you look at that and you go, oh, okay, I've been on the phone for a little while now because it's set to go off after an hour. If I've been on my phone for an hour, it's time to step back. And so
Right.
I think that there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I'm not villainizing technology, because technology is allowing us to have this conversation. It allows us to have better relationships with people that we have only met once or twice. And then we can still talk to them on the phones. And God, where would we be without that? Right. So I'm not
Right.
villainizing technology. I think that we too often lean on it instead of being in the moment with people, which is sometimes awkward.
Yeah, I would agree. And I will say, learning that needing to put your phone down and setting that example for your family, you're doing the same thing with anxiety. You're looking at what anxiety is, you're looking at how it's affecting you. Now, can you use your powers for good? I'm sure there's a way to use your anxiety for good. I haven't found it. I'm sure I did it accidentally once, but realistically, you can find ways. That's okay. I'm going to have this sudden burst of energy. I'm going to need to do something. Well, that's my moment where I'm going to get my steps in, or I'm going to run up the stairs, or I'm going to, whatever it might be that I can do. And moving into that, okay, this is a part of my day. I mean, this is going to hit me. Same thing in planning. Well, I'm going to put my phone down. And we're going to just put that aside because right now that tool isn't helping us connect. That tool isn't helping us be a family together. It's actually keeping us apart. It's a barrier. And in showing your kids that example of, oh, yeah, this is a thing that we recognize that can do this. And it's wonderful and we love it and it's so much fun, but it can be too much. And in the same way with anxiety, yeah, I get this way, this thing's going. I had to go to the hospital. I was in the ambulance and it was very scary for all of us. And it was just my anxiety. And so I went, I took care of myself. I found out what the problem was. I persisted to find out what the problem was. And then I recognized this is what I need to make as far as changes. And I was willing to explore those changes. And teaching your child, this is how we deal with these things that are big and emotional. It's all just, I think, a wonderful example of parenting in action, Jen.
Thank you. I have a great support in Jeremy because he didn't stop either. He was like, well, we need to figure out what this is. I said, yeah, me too. I mean, like I said, persistently pleasant. I called people over. It is ridiculous how long it takes to get to see a doctor or a specialist. We could talk
Yeah.
about that forever, but
Yeah.
it's so unconscionable how we make people wait. It's the worst information. You have to wait and then let's wait and then do more tests and we're not sure. And
Yep.
anxiety's kicking up.
Right. And again, that is a complete, not even a show, several shows, a series, in fact, about that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm sure there are people that we could actually go and find that have already done that because it's such a common problem.
Absolutely.
So we're not going to venture too far into that, but we are getting really close to time. So I just want to say first, thank you, of course, for being on the show. Thank you for coming back and thank you for your presentation. I'd like you to let us know the best ways to get in touch with you and, your, whatever you might have, your, Boss of Balance or Haston's Helping Hands.
I do want to ask a question to your audience who's
Sure.
listening. I did a talk last year on just 5 minutes, and I asked when y'all were going to put that in your life. So I'm going to ask you, how have you been doing with that, Danny?
I'm sorry. Ask me that again because my child was banging on the door.
I did a presentation about how important it is to find 5 minutes for you. And you were
Mhm.
engaged in this incredible workshop weekend where you had a lot of focus on people taking breaks too. So it wasn't constant education, professional development, right? So I'm asking, this is my follow up for your audience and for you and for Brock.
For me,
How
okay.
is your 5 minutes going?
I think mine is going well. I have used probably not 5 minutes every single week, not 5 minutes every day for sure, but oft times that I will look at it and say, okay, where do I need to be right now? What do I really need? And not what do I want? Because I don't want to take time for myself. I don't want to buy things for myself. I don't want to feed myself, really. What do the kids want to eat? That kind of thing. So taking the time to look at it and say, okay, that's not the person I want to be because that's not the person I want my kids to end up being. So one of the big things I've done, and it ended up being much longer than 5 minutes, was to join a local book club, which was fun. And again, we read a lot of really interesting books. Rest as Resistance was one of them. But part of that book club too is they have a local grief group that meets every Thursday. And we end up being there probably 2.5 hours. And we're not just talking about grief. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about family things. We're just laughing. We're just, we talk about politics a lot. And that's something I don't talk about with many people because I just feel like I'll get too vehement. But taking a moment is more difficult than scheduling a time away for me because the moments are often, as we just found out with my kid coming to the door during my weekly podcast I've been doing for years
Sure.
and suddenly they forgot about. It's just a constant interruption. And I, for one, love those interruptions. I will shut down almost everything I'm doing almost every single time and say, hang on, let me take my headphones out or whatever. Let me sign this email and then I'll turn my chair around or I'll stand up. And when I'm standing, I'll look at him and say, what do you need? What's going on? And give them my full focus. And I love that moment because I love what it does for them.
Yeah.
What I would have given for
To
a
have that.
loving adult to have stopped and given me their full loving attention and say, what would you like to do? What do you need? How can I help you? Or listen to my stories,
Yeah.
which I find is delightful for me, but oftentimes is difficult for people because you don't know where your kid's story is going to go. And my kids having ADHD like I do, they ramble more than I do. And it's demanding. It really is. I love it because my brain works that way. For some of the neurotypicals in the house, it's difficult, you know.
Yeah.
But finding that 5 minutes itself has been a little more difficult than making a time away has been easier. Again, my
Yeah.
kids have all been in school, so it's a lot easier on me. But
Yeah.
that's where I've been. I don't know about Brock. I might say that we both say self care is best care a lot, and neither one of us does it well.
I was going to say, y'all have had a lot of life going on though, based on what I've been listening
Mm,
to and with
yeah,
Brock and with you. And there's just been a lot going on with your lives and it makes it even more important. But you said something really crucial, Danny, when you said dialed in to your kid. That's a great way to use your phone is to say, I'm dialed in. I'm the human equivalent right now. Like, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And trying to remember that in the midst of the hustle and bustle and all the things that is the magic, right? Is let me dial into you, kid. I'm here, you know? And I will say that it has been harder for me to find that 5 minutes. So I feel like a hypocrite asking you. And I want to be honest and authentic, right? Because there's no point in me pretending that I smell good and look good and I'm doing everything right because I'm not because it's always a work in progress. And to answer your question, people can find me on Instagram at the boss of balance, all spelled out. And if they want to reach out to me directly, I speak to companies and individuals about finding their balance. It looks different for everybody. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to come back and talk with y'all. I'm always delighted to meet with y'all and talk through balancing items. And I'm really excited that we had this chance to have this talk.
I agree 100%. So, again, thank you for being on the show. That'll be it for us today. We will be back next week with Brock, hopefully. I expect him to be here. We'll see what happens. And looking forward to a great summer. So, good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.